Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their practices, and to leave a legacy. I'm doing a series of spotlights on remarkable business intermediaries from across the country and exit planners from across the country. And joining me on this segment is Michael Balstad. He's the founder of Harvest Transition Solutions. Michael, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you, Mark.
Michael, tell us a little bit about your work, and specifically, who are the types of folks that you specialize in working with?
So the work I do is to help owners who've put a ton of time into building a business. They've sacrificed time and weekends and often long working hours, much longer than they would have at a job, and help them convert that into a business that eventually they can leave and it would supply, meet their needs for their next act. In most cases, in fact, in eight of 10 cases, owners who list their business for sale aren't able to and eventually close as a result, losing their financial security potentially, and as well as the employment of those who have helped them to build that business. Primarily, I'm working with folks that are over the age of 50, which are rapidly moving toward retirement, and also own, roughly half of the businesses in the U.S.
Michael, so most folks, when they start a business, they don't really do it with the end in mind. So tell me a little bit about these business owners. What are their biggest concerns? And what do they not know that they don't even know when they reach out to you?
Sure. Well, so it's important to remember, why people go into business, and all of your listeners are going to have a different perspective. In most cases, though, it's that they recognize that they could work for someone else and they are working at the needs of that business owner and helping them to create their wealth. And they're recognizing that they can take a chance on their own destiny, build something that meets their time needs, their lifestyle needs, hopefully to raise their families and spend time with their kids. And they build something that works. And unfortunately, that business relies on them. Normally, they're wearing all the hats. And so in 15% of business owners at any given time are trying to figure out how to go about exiting. And that's largely reactive. It's something has popped up. They're like, no, I'm just done. But in one study, when asked if they'd done any exit or succession planning for their business, 52% said that they'd given no thought to it whatsoever. The follow-up question was why. 2/3 stated it was because they had no idea where to begin. So what happens is, folks wind up in this business and effectively they learned to fly a plane, but they forgot to take the lesson on how to land. So now they're at 30,000 feet, flying along just well, but they don't know how they're going to get that back down to the runway. And so they feel a bit stuck.
So, considering folks need to know this information, how far in advance should they start planning this? And what are the big pillars of things that they need to consider when they start planning to exit?
Certainly. Well, it's like anything else. The earlier you start and the more time you give yourself, the less costly or demanding the steps are along the way, because you've got a lot longer time, just like putting money away for retirement. So the sooner the better, because really, if you look at, what you want to do in your future, what your purpose is, what your priorities are, what your cares and passions are, there are a number of different ways to exit a business. You can sell it to a third party. You could sell it to employees individually. It could be employee owned, or you could transition to family. And in any of those cases, there'll be different decisions that you make in the business to help that business's operations align with that choice. And so the earlier that you can be planning, it's like having a destination that you want to go to on a road trip. You're going to have a much better chance of getting there if you know where you're actually going and laying out your course on a map. Likewise with your business, it helps you to make decisions along the way. Like if If it's a family-owned business and you know that you want it to be that perpetually, you're going to be making choices around, um, do our kids have to work for someone else first to get outside experience, not working for their parents? Do they have to go to college first? There'll be a number of rules you're going to set for yourself on nepotism. If it's going to be that you're going to sell it to individual employees, well, there's going to be a matter of ensuring that those employees are trained and able to fill those roles that you're going to be leaving when you exit the business. So what kind of a training program do you have? Also, what have you done to ensure that those employees that you're training and providing all that knowledge and experience to don't leave and go to a competitor, or worse yet, become your competitor? So there's a lot of strategic decisions you make with compensation and such as well. So the four areas that drive most of the value in a business are going to be what are called structural capital. That's going to be your processes, procedures, systems, intellectual property, your brand, kind of the who you are and how you do what you do that makes you valuable to your customers. Much how a franchise, is successful because someone has created an owner's manual and a roadmap. So in your own business, you're doing that similarly. You're documenting those things so that it's transferable to someone else. Your human capital is the right people in the right seats executing on that. Your social capital is your culture within the business. And then finally, your customer capital, which is, that's, where you are within your industry as far as how you interact with your customers, frequency and size of transactions, or recurring revenue. So in identifying gaps in those areas and adapting those to best practices, you reduce the potential risk in the eye of a potential buyer and consequently increase the premium that they'd be willing to invest in that business.
Michael, what inspired you to get into this field and help folks with their exit planning in their businesses? How did you get started?
About 1998, I was getting into the investments industry. And I'd had a family member who'd had a business that had failed. And I saw it play out. They had a perfectly good business, but due to a lack of planning and guidance, they didn't have a plan to get out well, and they didn't. It was impactful to me. And so as I, got into that industry, it became a focus for me to help people, to kind of mentor and guide them to help build businesses, and more importantly, plans on getting out that aligned with what they cared about, what their priorities were. To understand that this business that they were building was not just a chance for them to replace their job, but it was a chance for them to have a vehicle that helped them to purposefully go towards whatever they cared about for their family, for their communities, for their employees, for their causes. And so, but in that period of my career, I was spending the time doing that, which wasn't paying. So I was focusing on helping them provide for their, their financial planning, if you will. So I, over time, changed to where I was focusing strictly on this piece, the part that I really enjoyed and am passionate about. And so, having, I'd, one change mid-career to a large pension system doing their strategic planning. And so when I came back in, the mid 2000s to 2016, I focused specifically on exit and succession planning.
Michael, for folks listening who you've struck a chord and they know that they haven't really got their ducks in a row and would want to get some more information, do you have any resources you offer to help folks, or how do they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Certainly. So the first thing is I have a website that's bizleavable.com, bizleavable.com. On there, you'll notice a place where it'll ask, is your biz leavable? You click on it. It'll take you through a quick set of questions that will help identify some initial places where you might put some focus on to get started improving your business. And they'll get a 17-page report at no cost. And beyond that, they'll have a chance to talk with me, and they may want to get some additional help. So I do a free consultation at that point. Also, for folks who join that, I have an ebook that I give out at no cost. I can also be reached at 833-BIZLEAVABLE. That's 833-249-5825.
Michael, this has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
So much.
That was Michael Balstad, the founder of Harvest Transition Solutions. And this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.